What is Learn Outside? Learn Outside is a fascinating approach in the education field that allows students to expand their knowledge beyond the walls of the classroom. It is a metaphor for the idea that learning should be done not just within the walls of the classroom, but also outside of it. It encourages both literal and metaphorical educational attributes, such as outdoor activities, field trips, and hands-on experiences, and project-based learning. This experiential approach encourages students to explore their environment and to use it to help them understand their world better. This approach helps student agency and the gaining of a deeper understanding that they can apply in a relevant real-world situation.
Welcome to our 11th podcast of Learn Outside. Today we are going to meet Miss Mandy Martin. She's a second grade teacher at Success Academy, just a little dynamo, right?
Definitely.
And we're going to learn what Learn Outside looks like in her classroom.
It's going to be very exciting.
I'm excited. Student engagement.
Absolutely.
What are the projects they're doing? I can't wait to chat with her. That'll be wonderful. But thank you for joining us. Learn Outside is an informal discussion about innovative and effective teaching practices where we are based on experiential learning through project-based learning, competency-based learning to really engage our students, but also empower our teachers to lead beyond the walls of the classroom.
So important.
Yes. And I am your host, Dr. Candy Van Busker, Assistant Superintendent here at the Career Academy Network of Public Schools. And my co-host is?
I'm Dr. Marilyn Nash. I'm the K-5 Maker Manager at Success Academy, the primary building in our public network of schools.
Perfect. And we first get started with our Learn Outside moment of the week. So Dr. Nash, if you will share with us your Learn Outside moment of the week.
Sure. I got to think about a couple of projects I was working on and got lost in a train of thought. And I thought about when I was a child. I loved being outside all the time. And we would build like little hiding huts in the woods and stuff, or we'd build tree houses. And it was so fun to think all that through and get all the pieces. And, Dad would let us use all the tools and things. And then I got to school, and none of that was ever even talked about, let alone those skills were being used when I was at school. And so I got to thinking about those skills kind of just being an outside of class, kind of a ability that I had. And as I was reflecting on those pieces, I was also working on some things for our one of our summer camps this year, which is cardboard camp. And I'm very excited to see those very skills that I was just talking about as a child coming alive in the classroom, where they're doing the measuring, where they're building things and creating things, and using tools to, create those projects. Even though it's out of cardboard, they're going to have use carpentry skills and welding skills to make those projects. So I'm pretty excited about bringing those together.
Yeah, no, that sounds exciting. And, talking about summer camp, and we're in summertime now. And so your mind just really starts taking you back to what you did as a child. And I appreciate that too, very similar to you. When I was a kiddo, I had the opportunity to do some summer camps, but then also just go out and play in the neighborhood and in the creek and at the baseball fields with friends and come home for lunch, what that might, and then go back out and explore some more. But I really want to share about camp opportunities.
Yes.
You have the opportunity to dive in experientially to practice skills and do things that we don't normally get to do on a daily basis.
Right.
In a traditional classroom setting, right? Now here at Career Academy Network of Public Schools, we have the opportunity to dive in experientially daily.
That's right.
We're in this classroom right now, we're in the art classroom, and just to see all the pieces, the clay spinnings, the different pieces that are in here, and being able to now as an adult look back at your learnings experientially, and still now as an adult,
absolutely,
continue to learn experientially.
That's right.
Going on YouTube and seeing how things are done, and then practicing that if you want to tile a bathroom, or if you want to do a project at home, whatever that might look like. We do our learning experientially, and then we reflect and we get better.
That's right. Where the normal is, it's okay to get your hands dirty. It's okay to get splattered with paint or clay or whatever it may be. It's okay to get your hands in the dirt and make things. It's okay. It's wonderful.
Yes. I think I once heard that the most successful people have failed the most.
Yes.
Because we learn and we reflect. I think about the splattering of the mud. Well, you don't learn that mud splatters unless you get the opportunity to splatter it, right?
That's
Now,
right.
don't get me wrong. I think my mom feels I probably splattered mud a little too much growing up.
There are those moments.
Yes. Well, we have a superhero guest that's going to join us. And once again, that's Mandy Martin, a second grade teacher at Success Academy.
Very exciting.
I'm just so excited to meet with her. But before we do, we have a superhero commercial break. We'll see you right back, and we will have Mandy Martin with us.
This message has been brought to you by Robotic Summer Cleanup in the Loft. That was a message from Robotic Summer Cleanup in the Loft. Now back to our program.
Welcome back to Learn Outside. We have our superhero guest with us, Miss Mandy Martin. She is a second grade teacher at Success Academy, and we are just thrilled to have you with us today, Mandy.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, we want to get started. If you can share with us about what has brought you to this point in your career as a second grade teacher at the Success Academy here in South Bend.
Sure. I think the inspiration to be a teacher, as most of us will say, came from a very young age, and most of the time we were impacted by a great educator. My story was a little different. I was a struggling student. In my generation, we came from the cookie cutter learning box, where everyone sat at their desks nice and quietly and worked out of books all day. And I'm a talker, so that wasn't always the best for me. And I had a teacher that just really put a sour taste on school. A few years later, I was lucky enough to get a teacher who impacted my life and completely turned it around. And I thought, when I grow up, that's what I want to do. I want to impact students who may not feel like they belong in the school setting. So I graduated from USI in 2002. And was a teacher aide all the way through college for a local Head Start program. So I earned my bachelor's in early childhood education. And I left the classroom in 2010, actually. So I kind of took a non-traditional route of most people. Out of need, I had a special needs son who was born, and I needed to stay home a few years for him. But when it was time to go back, there wasn't a lot of positions open in my area. So I went back to college, received a healthcare degree, and worked in the corporate world until 2019. And it was just, I enjoyed what I got to do, but my passion was with students in the classroom. And I told my husband, I don't think I can do this. And he said, well, now's your chance to go back. And there was a need in our community. So prior to coming to our network of schools, I worked for South Bend schools, mostly inner city, Title I. And then I enrolled my daughter here after a tour in start of the 21-22 school year. And when I was walking in the tour, I was completely blown away. And I thought, here at Career. I mean, you could hear a pin drop. It didn't matter what room I was in or stopped by or poked my head in, everyone was engaged, and it wasn't the traditional rows with everyone facing forward. And the kids were really involved in what they were doing. And then after hearing my daughter come home for 4 or 5 months, I'm like, oh man, I want a shot at being a part of this. And so I applied. And I thought it was a long shot, you always kind of doubt yourself. And I got a phone call at the end of the day of my interview, and I was completely on cloud 9. And so it's been the best decision I've made in my career ever. Yeah.
Well, we are so thankful that you're here and a part of our team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talk about going on this tour, and you saw that students are learning differently in the non-traditional, sitting in rows, teacher at the front of the classroom. This is very hands-on, experiential learning.
Yeah.
What does that look like in your second grade classroom, if you could share that with us?
For me, I don't think the early childhood part of me in my career ever left. In early childhood, we definitely had to really grasp the Piaget and Vygotsky and Dewey and Reggio Emilia, and did some internships at Montessori schools. And so for me, the students are actively engaged. And we all call ourselves a teacher, and we are, but more in my classroom, I see my role as being the researcher. So my job is there to, really walk around and listen to what the students are doing, and letting them take that active role. So we're not going to find the desk. Are there times that we have to sit down? Absolutely. But the majority of the time I want them moving and engaged in whatever we're doing. So, and you capture all learners. Not everyone is meant to sit and listen to instruction all day long.
So by research you meant, sorry to interrupt, by research you meant get to know the students.
Yes, yeah. And they're capable of constructing their own knowledge and their own learning from a very young age. And I think when we do that, we're preparing them to be successful high school students and adults in college and ready for the workforce, wherever that career may take them. Those are the foundational skills that they need, is to learn how to work and cooperate with each other.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah.
No, absolutely. And we talk about the 6 C's: collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and these are all pieces when students have the opportunity to learn experientially, and you're learning about them so
Right.
that you can continue to help them become engaged in the learning process.
Yes.
Which is lifelong skills.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you can kind of explain or give an example or two of what your Learn Outside approach looks like, or maybe an example of a lesson or a project that we might see in your classroom.
Yeah, so one of the big things for my classroom is it takes up pretty much quarter 3 and quarter 4 at the end of the year. And so if I backtrack a little bit, I think the most important key point at any age is developing like that classroom family network and those expectations. And we work really hard on that at the beginning of the year so that when we're rolling into projects, we know how to work with each other. We know how to listen to each other. We know the routines and how things are going. So we're pretty set up for that big piece. So I think one of the biggest projects was our RV unit in 2nd grade. And it kind of stemmed from, in my classroom, we earn a reward system where we earn Fun Friday. So at 1 o'clock, they get to pick from a variety of choices. And one day they wanted to watch National Geographic. So we watched one on our national parks. And then the whole RV project for our team took off from there. So the students spent about 10 weeks. It involved all the interdisciplinary subjects of reading and science and social studies and math and art and design. And, they did research in teams. They had teams of 5 on every U.S. national park. They created presentation boards. They had to know text features. We had students who were the drawers and the ones who were the writers. We had students who presented as if they were on TV to building model RVs. We took the students to the RV Museum in Elkhart, bringing it,
Is that a history museum?
History Museum. And so it went back from past experiences to current experiences and what those type of homes look like. And it opens the whole path to all the careers that they could possibly look at from a very young age that no one ever actually discussed with me. From being a park ranger to construction to engineering to architect to interior design, business, manager. There was so many opportunities that we explored with the kids. I could probably just go on, and I feel like I'm going to leave out the most important things. But at the end, each group had to follow a blueprint and build an RV out of Legos that was designed actually for ages 13 and above. And we had 7 and 8 and 9-year-olds doing this.
Yeah, I was going to come back to these were 7 and 8
Yes,
year olds.
Right.
yes. I'm not so sure. I'm not much on the engineering part. I may have struggled putting that together, so it was amazing to see what they were able to do. And just looking back on the photos of the kids down with their boards and doing their writing and their presentation, it was amazing. And then we brought our families into it. We gave them a challenge to build an RV at home, and the students came in with things that would have blew your mind away, wheels and axles on them that actually made them roll, to tiny curtains hanging in the window. So the families got involved, in the knowledge that the kids had done, and it was just a spectacular project in the end that they got to showcase to the community.
Well, it's going to be exciting just
and their
exciting
family.
Just to hear about that.
Right.
Probably could spend a whole podcast on it, but you know, that was 10 weeks for about, you know, every Friday, and in between, you know, the research, we would do that in reading and tied it in with, you know, text features and diagrams and things like that. So just because you have the students engaged and not sitting in a desk and following a curriculum, we do have curriculum that we use, but we also are, you know, we make sure we tie in those standards because we are still responsible for making sure that the students know. And I think it's just proof, you know, to pat our whole team on the back. Obviously, this works. I mean, the amount of students in second grade that had already passed I Read 3.
Well, and you know, and you talk about standards. I think the misnomer is that when you do experiential learning, we're not doing real learning.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
Which is not the case at all.
Right.
Because the standards are weaved within the learning process.
Yeah.
And the piece that, you know, you talk about 7 and 8 year olds putting together Lego pieces for older age groups. They're doing these writings, they're doing these pieces, but when we're utilizing the 6 C's of collaboration and communication, we're doing this together.
Right.
So, and when we do things together, greatness happens, and we can dive deeper past our learning skill set because we have somebody else that's kind of filling in until we own that learning ourselves, which then increases that engagement because I'm not sitting at a table and I don't know what you're talking about. I can communicate and collaborate to get to get to where I need to be.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And I think one of them, I left out the mathematics part with Dr. Nash. I can't believe I did that.
Right, with Dr. Nash.
I know, but not only did they do a digital layout of their personal RV, we got out the old paper, the grid paper, and they had to bring in the skills of area and perimeter and measurement and where everything was going to fit.
Which are 3rd and 4th grade
Standards.
and 5th grade standards.
Yes, so we brought that in at an early age. It was phenomenal seeing all of it displayed and hung up, so it was great.
Yeah, sounds incredible. I know when you guys had the showcase evening and I was able to talk with Dr. Nash, she just went on and on about the RV project. It was just incredible.
We had visitors that came back down like 2 or 3 times just to see it all. So it was really amazing. So
Yeah, probably blown away by the work of
it
second
was
graders.
a proud moment for
Yes,
sure.
it absolutely should be.
Right.
So here's my question: is we have an audience listening to our podcast, and you know, if I'm an elementary teacher, what is one nugget of information? You know, I'm home for the summer. I can work on creating for the next school year. Where would I get started to put something together to the magnitude of what you're sharing with us today?
Well, you know, I think you have to have a lot of buy-in from the team that you work with as well. And I think that's one of the great things that we do here. Just when the bell ends at summer, we still communicate with each other after the summer and we meet. So I think it's just probably development, getting out here and going to trainings on this type of learning style and what you can bring into the classroom. And really, it really takes off when you get your students' feedback. And I think you have to see what it's about when they come into the fall and what they're interested in. And sometimes your plans completely change.
That's right.
Of course.
That's
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
But just, you know, really educating yourself on how can I get away from the traditional textbooks, and just because it's laid out this way, I may need to mix it up in order to meet the needs of my students. So I think you kind of got to plan about what you're going to do and map that out and be prepared.
Well, and Mandy and I, we've already talked probably 5 times this
Yes.
week already.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we are both doing this summer is we're looking,
Yeah.
I mean, if you Google, you can Google STEM activities and you'll get a lot, but I've learned that if you do STEM makerspace
Yeah.
activities for students, it has a whole new depth to it
Whole
that
library.
I'm finding so much richer. I mean, yes, can you
So
find
say that
great-
again. What would I Google?
Right, I was going to say
STEM makerspace.
makerspace activities.
Makerspace activities.
I mean,
So
you-
just so everybody out there has that
Yeah,
makerspace
I mean,
activities.
you can Google or look up podcasts or YouTube STEM activities. You're going to get some great ideas. But I'm finding this summer that really putting STEM makerspace activities they're enriched and challenging and
Projects you've never thought of.
never thought of things that are like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, we could do that. So you kind of get yourself familiar with those things, research those things, so that, as Mandy was saying, when you find out what their interests are, then you can go, oh, I remember that, I read that, or I saw that.
Yeah.
So-
Well, and just to tie back to that RV project that happened in second grade, so we have an RV maker space, right?
Yeah.
In our area, RV industry is huge. So we have a partnership in the RV
Yes.
industry. So when you look at secondary and the connections, and that started in second grade, learning about the potential careers, and now as students enter into high school, that's something that
That's right.
that we work with, and that's
Right.
a potential internship, and already aware of the career from back in second
know.
grade,
Yeah.
Yes.
which is just tying
know.
all those. We like to tie K-12 together.
Yeah,
That's
Yes.
right.
It's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, we need to go to a commercial break, and we will be right back with Miss Mandy Martin. Thank you.
Thank you.
This portion of Learn Outside has been brought to you by Career Academy Summer Jobs.
Our summer job is better than yours.
This message has been brought to you by Career Academy Summer Jobs. Anybody can do it.
Welcome back to Learn Outside. And once again, we have with us our superhero guest, Miss Mandy Martin, second grade teacher at Success Academy South Bend. And we're wrapping up with our final question. So Mandy, if you can share with us, what has been your aha moment teaching second grade in a Learn Outside environment?
I think my aha moment was really seeing it in the students' eyes. Seeing it all come together. Their 10 weeks of hard work and disagreements along the way, but how they pieced it all together and made it happen, and we're still talking about it on the last day of school. So my aha is always, how were the students impacted? And I also believe that knowing that this type of learning is successful and it
Yes.
works.
It does.
And we're just very fortunate to have the network of public schools that we have to offer this to our
Yes.
community. And just to be a part of that was phenomenal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Well, and we are so thankful to have you in our network of public schools leading this experiential work, because you're absolutely right. Research tells us this works.
Right.
This works. Students can reflect. They can create new knowledge from their experiences. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts
Yes.
for the work that you're
Thank you.
doing
Thank you.
within
Thank
our
you.
district.
Yeah.
We are so grateful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
And so as we are, thankful that Miss Mandy Martin is here with us today, just want to share in regards to the work that we're talking about with Learn Outside. There will be a book coming out in February, and it is going to be titled Learn Outside. And it is written by myself with lots of information about the work that we're doing here at the Career Academy Network of Public Schools, and work that Dr. Nash has done here and several others, and also just interviewing folks that have done this work globally. Interview with Michael Fullen, interview with Jason Callahan at the state level, learning about Larry Gary Tony's vision of starting Career Academy Network of Public Schools. So as we have more information, or I have more information around the publishing of Learn Outside the book, I will keep everybody abreast. With that, we want to talk about next week. Our superhero guest will be Miss Jeannie Shuck. She is an expert in experiential learning. She's the CEO of JWAS, which is an academic foundation, and she is also the CEO of Firefly Adventure. She leads experiential leadership camps in the summer, which are incredible. So really look forward to meeting
really
with
exciting.
Jeannie. And once again, we are so thankful to have
Thank you.
you on our episode today.
Yay. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, cool.